Welcome into Cozy's Ghost Adventures. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a woman named Wendy. Once upon a time, in a quiet farmhouse, there lived a woman named Wendy and her loyal dog, Jigs. Her days were filled with simple pleasures, long walks with Jigs, riding her horses, reading books by the fireplace, and enjoying the peaceful quiet of her home. But there was something unusual about Wendy's house. Strange things began happening when night fell. Down on the household ranch. It all started one chilly autumn evening. Wendy had just tucked herself into bed. Jigs all curled up at her feet. Jiggy, 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 jiggies. As she always did. She drifted into a peaceful sleep, unaware that something was stirring in the darkness. At exactly midnight, the old television in the living room flickered to life. Slowly but surely, it turned on. The screen was filled with static, but there was something off. The air in the air in the room grew cold, and a low hum filled the space, like a whisper from another world. The faintest sound of a voice seemed to echo from the TV, but Wendy was deep in her slumber, unaware of the eerie presence in her home. Jigs, the doggie, however, was not so oblivious. For real. Her ears perked up and growled softly in her sleep. She had never been one to be spooked by much. She chased the horses, got them into the barn every day. Was always an outdoor adventurous. But yeah, this felt different to the dog. She stood up and padded toward the living room, her eyes wide and alert. But when she reached the TV, the screen blinked off as suddenly as it had turned on. Now, the room was eerily silent once again. There's the haunted printer. Every time I tell a story, the printer makes a noise. What does that tell you? The next few nights, the same strange occurrences happened back to back to back. Back to back to back! The TV would flicker to life, and the lights in the house would start blinking erratically. Blink, 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 blink. And it was pretty creepy. You'd have to see it for yourself, and you'd be like, holy shit, I'm getting the hell out of here. This is absolutely insane. What am I doing here? Anyways, Wendy's still asleep, never noticed for a while. But Jiggies, the dog, growing more agitated by the night, could sense something dark was at play here. She would bark, scratch at the door, or pace nervously around the room, trying to warn Wendy. Yet she slept on, unaware of the creeping danger. One particularly restless night, Wendy had a strange dream. She was walking through her house, but everything was distorted and twisted. The walls seemed to close in on her, and the TV in the living room flickered and hummed. But this time there was a figure in the static of the TV. A dark, shadowy shape that seemed to be watching her. I shit you not. Its eyes glowed red as it whispered her name. Wendy. She jolted awake with a gasp. The TV was on again, wouldn't you know it? Static filling the screen. The lights flickered and dimmed, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Jiggs was barking furiously at this point, her paws scratching at the door. Wendy, trembling and very shaken, got out of bed and walked cautiously into the living room. As she approached the TV, the static suddenly cleared, revealing a strange, ghostly image. A face, pale and gaunt, staring at her from the screen. "Get out of here," the voice hissed from the television, sending chills down Wendy's spine. Terrified, Wendy backed away, but before she could react, the TV turned off again, and the lights stopped flickering. Silence returned to the house at once. The next morning, Wendy felt very uneasy, but she dismissed it as a nightmare. No big deal. Product of too much stress in her life. But the strange events did not stop. They became more frequent, more intense. Every night, the TV would turn on and the lights would blink. It felt as if something was trying to communicate with her. Desperate for answers, Wendy consulted a local medium, hoping to get to the bottom of the strange shit that was going down. The medium, after a tense silence, revealed something very chilling. "This house, Wendy," she said, "it's cursed. There is a spirit here, attached to the land. It's bound to you, Wendy, but there's more. It's waiting for something." Wendy's heart raced. She was afraid, but the medium's word stirred something within her, a desire to know the truth. What was it waiting for, you may ask? The medium's face paled. "A gift, a sacrifice. Your fortune, Wendy. The spirit will grant you wealth, but it will demand something in return. A life. A soul." Wendy was stunned, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized something. For months, she's been struggling financially, barely scraping by. She needed a freaking miracle. She needed a freaking miracle. But was she willing to pay the price, you may ask? Well, the following week, Wendy received an unexpected phone call. Her nephew, Richie Rich, whom she hadn't heard from in years, was visiting the area and wanted to catch up with her. Wendy was thrilled to see him because she was his favorite aunt by far. Duh. But she couldn't shake the feeling that the reunion was no coincidence. When Rich arrived, he brought strange news. A distant relative had passed away and left behind a fortune. Then, the will had been read, and Wendy, along with Rich, were to inherit a vast sum of money. It was the break Wendy had desperately needed. She was overjoyed, yet the unease never left her. She couldn't help but wonder if the spirit in her home had something to do with this. The night the money was transferred into the account, the TV flickered on again. But this time, the figure in the static wasn't just watching, it was smiling, its eyes glowing with a malevolent satisfaction. "Wendy," it whispered, "your price has been paid." The lights blinked one final time, and then, just as suddenly as they had started, the haunting had now stopped. Wendy was a millionaire, but the victory felt hollow. The spirit, the curse, had been satisfied. But at what cost, you may ask? From that day on, Wendy and Rich lived in wealth beyond their wildest dreams imaginable. But every night, the TV would still flicker on. They learned to live with it. But sometimes Wendy could not shake the feeling that the spirit was still watching and waiting. And that one day it would come to collect what it had been promised. And Jiggs, you may ask, well, Jiggs never slept peacefully again. Every night, she would bark at the damn door in the dark corners in the room, warning Wendy that the shadow and the static had never left. The end. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more cool stories like this. Comment down below. See you on the next one. Peace.